13 Stoic ways to overcome your enemy without fighting. The wisdom of Stoicism in overcoming conflict. Throughout life, conflict is inevitable. Whether it's personal, professional, or political, we are bound to face opposition, hostility, or rivalry. But as Marcus Aurelius, the renowned Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, taught us, strength is not about overpowering your adversaries through force. True power lies in mastering oneself, practicing resilience, and approaching life's challenges with wisdom and virtue. Stoicism, one of the most influential schools of philosophy in ancient Rome, provides a roadmap for confronting enemies not with violence, but with inner peace, integrity, and emotional discipline. Stoicism is built around four cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These guiding principles teach us to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and emotions, and accept what we cannot control, the behavior of others, external circumstances. In this philosophy, the best way to defeat an enemy isn't through physical confrontation, but by cultivating a state of mind that renders their hostility irrelevant. This guide explores 13 Stoic strategies to overcome your enemies without ever engaging in a fight, inspired by the teachings of Marcus Aurelius and other Stoic thinkers. 1. Cultivate inner strength and resilience. The first Stoic strategy in overcoming any enemy starts from within. Stoicism teaches that real strength is not found in overpowering others, but in mastering your own thoughts, emotions, and reactions. The concept of resilience is central to Stoicism. It is the ability to remain calm and stable in the face of adversity, which includes dealing with enemies or challenges. One of Marcus Aurelius' most famous quotes encapsulates this idea: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This reminds us that while we may not control what our enemies say or do, we do control how we react to them. By focusing on building mental fortitude and training yourself to stay centered, you effectively diminish your enemy's ability to harm you. When their actions or words don't provoke a reaction from you, their power fades. Imagine your mind as a fortress, unshakable despite the turmoil outside. The enemy may try to storm the gates, but if you are calm and resilient, their efforts are futile. Practical Stoic exercises to build this resilience include daily self-reflection, journaling your thoughts, as Marcus Aurelius did in Meditations, and practicing mindfulness. These habits help you better understand your emotions and recognize when an enemy's provocations are starting to affect you. The key is learning to rise above these impulses and not allow external forces to dictate your mental state. 2. Practice emotional detachment. In Stoicism, emotional detachment is a powerful tool for handling enemies. The Stoics advocated for controlling passions and emotions, which they saw as the root of irrational behavior. When someone insults you or acts against you, your natural reaction might be to get angry, frustrated, or hurt. But as the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Detaching emotionally means you don't allow your enemy's actions to dictate your feelings. You recognize that their words or deeds are external events beyond your control. You can't control how others behave, but you can choose how you respond. Emotional detachment doesn't mean becoming indifferent or cold. Rather, it means approaching situations with calm and clarity. Imagine you're standing in the middle of a storm. The winds are strong, the rain is heavy, and yet you remain unaffected because you are centered and grounded. This is how emotional detachment works in practice. You observe the storm, but you don't let it shake you. By remaining calm, you keep control over the situation, while your enemy, expecting an emotional response, becomes frustrated or disarmed by your serenity. Practical ways to practice emotional detachment include meditation and practicing Stoic aphorisms such as, "This too shall pass," or asking yourself, "Will this matter in a year?" These exercises help create space between the action of your enemy and your emotional response. 3. Focus on virtue and morality. Stoicism teaches that we should always aim to live a life grounded in virtue, regardless of how others treat us. The four Stoic virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, are the cornerstones of moral living. When you focus on these virtues, especially in times of conflict, you automatically take the higher ground. Virtue is the ultimate defense against your enemies. When facing an adversary, the Stoic approach is to uphold your own principles of honesty, kindness, and integrity. By doing so, you not only set an example but also expose the moral shortcomings of your enemy without having to lift a finger. A person who acts out of integrity and virtue gradually weakens their enemies because virtue inspires trust and respect from others. Over time, people will see the contrast between your moral conduct and your enemy's actions, undermining the influence they may hold over you. Moreover, focusing on virtue helps you maintain inner peace. You can rest assured that, regardless of the conflict, you have acted in a way that aligns with your values. This sense of alignment strengthens your resolve and reduces any emotional toll that the enemy may try to inflict. For a Stoic, virtue is not just a personal matter but a public example. Leading by example is one of the most potent ways to dismantle your enemy's influence. Over time, others may begin to recognize the difference between your actions and those of your adversary. Stoic leaders like Marcus Aurelius didn't need to verbally attack their enemies. Instead, they focused on acting with integrity, allowing others to see who truly possess moral authority. 4. Practice mindfulness and self-reflection. Mindfulness and self-reflection are essential tools in Stoicism, helping individuals maintain calm and clarity when facing challenges. By being mindful, you become more aware of your thoughts and emotions in real time, which allows you to navigate situations with greater control. This is particularly important when dealing with enemies, as it prevents you from reacting impulsively to their provocations. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to remain present and reflect on his own behaviors and motives. In Meditations, he wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." This emphasis on self-awareness highlights that the best way to defeat an enemy is not by retaliating, but by continuously improving yourself. Mindfulness helps you recognize when you're being triggered by your enemy. Rather than react impulsively, you can pause, observe the emotion, and respond in a way that aligns with your values. Self-reflection, on the other hand, helps you review your own actions and thoughts regularly. Are you letting your enemy control your emotions? Are you holding on to grudges or negative feelings? Through reflection, you can identify areas for growth and ensure that you are not being swayed by external forces. Practical exercises to cultivate mindfulness include meditation, breathing exercises, or simply taking time throughout the day to pause and check in with your thoughts. Self-reflection can be done through journaling, much like Marcus Aurelius did, or by setting aside time at the end of the day to assess your responses and identify ways to improve. 5. Choose your battles wisely. Stoicism teaches us that not every battle is worth fighting. The key is discernment, knowing when to engage and when to let go. In many cases, the best way to defeat your enemy is to simply not engage with them. Stoicism encourages us to focus on what's truly important and to conserve our energy for battles that actually matter. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." By refusing to engage in petty conflicts or by walking away from unnecessary fights, you save your energy for what really counts. This doesn't mean being passive. Rather, it's about using your energy and focus in a strategic way. Stoicism teaches that we must avoid wasting our energy on trivial disputes and instead concentrate on meaningful pursuits, like personal growth, justice, and wisdom. Choosing your battles wisely also means recognizing when your involvement in a conflict will lead to a constructive outcome and when it will only escalate tensions. Sometimes, by simply walking away or not responding, you undermine your enemy's attempts to provoke you, and over time, they may stop seeing you as a target. This principle can be applied in everyday life. For instance, in a workplace environment, not every critique or slight requires a response. If you focus on your work and excel, the results will speak for themselves, and any efforts by others to undermine you will fade into the background. By selecting which battles are worth engaging in, you maintain control over your actions and protect your energy from being wasted on unnecessary conflicts. 6. Practice non-reactivity. One of the most powerful Stoic strategies in overcoming your enemies is a practice of non-reactivity. In many conflicts, the enemy thrives on your reactions, whether it's anger, fear, or frustration. By mastering the art of non-reactivity, you can disarm your opponent without ever engaging in direct confrontation. The Stoics believe that reactivity often leads to poor decision-making and escalates conflicts unnecessarily. Marcus Aurelius frequently wrote about the importance of maintaining composure and not allowing external events to dictate your internal state. When you remain calm and measured, you not only maintain control of the situation, but you also frustrate your enemies, who expect a strong emotional reaction. Non-reactivity doesn't mean passivity. It means you are choosing not to allow the actions of others to control your responses. When someone insults you, provokes you, or tries to engage you in conflict, the Stoic approach is to pause, assess the situation objectively, and respond or not respond based on what will serve your long-term goals. To practice non-reactivity, start by slowing down your response time. When faced with a potential conflict, take a deep breath, count to 10, or remove yourself from the situation temporarily. This creates space between the event and your reaction, allowing you to respond with intention rather than emotion. 7. Use the power of silence. In many conflicts, silence can be a powerful tool. The Stoics understood that words, once spoken, cannot be taken back, and often, silence speaks louder than words. By choosing not to engage verbally, you can take away the fuel that feeds a conflict, leaving your enemies without a target for their aggression. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus advised that we should practice silence, meaning that we should be mindful of when to speak and when to remain silent. In some cases, silence can be disarming to an enemy who expects a verbal exchange. When they are met with calm silence, their attempts to provoke or escalate the situation often fall flat. Silence can also be strategic. It gives you time to think, to assess the situation, and to respond, if necessary, from a place of wisdom rather than emotion. In the heat of a conflict, staying silent can be a powerful way to maintain control, as it prevents the situation from escalating and gives you the upper hand. Consider situations where silence could be used effectively. In a heated argument, for example, remaining silent can prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. In a professional setting, choosing not to respond to criticism immediately allows you to gather your thoughts and reply with clarity and precision later. 8. Practice empathy and understanding. One of the most unexpected Stoic strategies for overcoming an enemy is to practice empathy. Marcus Aurelius believed that by understanding others' motivations and perspectives, even those of our enemies, we could find a way to resolve conflicts without confrontation. He famously said, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize?" Empathy doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but it does mean trying to see the world from the perspective of your adversary. By understanding their motivations, fears, and desires, you may find a way to resolve the conflict peacefully or even turn an enemy into an ally. The Stoic approach to empathy requires you to separate the person from their actions. Recognize that most people act out of ignorance or pain. By acknowledging this, you can diffuse your own emotional response and approach the situation with compassion and understanding. Practicing empathy in conflict can be transformative. Instead of viewing your enemy as a threat, try to understand what drives their actions. This could open up avenues for peaceful resolution, or at least allow you to remain calm and objective in the face of provocation. 9. Foster positive relationships. One of the most effective ways to counter your enemies is by building a network of supportive relationships. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of community and forming positive connections with others. When you surround yourself with strong, like-minded individuals who share your values and principles, you naturally undermine the influence of those who oppose you. A strong network of allies provides emotional support, advice, and even opportunities to defuse conflicts before they escalate. By investing time and energy into fostering positive relationships, you strengthen your own position and diminish the power of your enemies, who may find it harder to attack you when you are surrounded by supportive people. Stoic philosophers like Seneca emphasize the importance of friendship and community. They believe that human beings are inherently social creatures and that our strength often comes from the relationships we build. In the context of dealing with enemies, cultivating positive relationships helps you stay grounded, secure, and less vulnerable to attacks. In practice, this means focusing on nurturing friendships, building alliances, and maintaining a positive presence in your community or workplace. As you strengthen these connections, you create a buffer between yourself and your enemies, making it harder for them to isolate or undermine you. 10. Focus on personal growth and development. Stoicism places a strong emphasis on personal growth and self-improvement. When you focus on improving yourself, you shift the focus away from your enemies and their actions, rendering their attempts to harm or undermine you less effective. By continuously striving to become a better version of yourself, whether through education, skill building, or moral development, you make yourself more resilient and less susceptible to external threats. Your growth becomes your shield, as your enemies' efforts to diminish you are overshadowed by your own progress. Personal growth in Stoicism is about pursuing excellence in all aspects of life, physical, mental, and emotional. This process of continuous self-improvement makes you stronger and more capable, enabling you to face challenges, including those posed by your enemies, with greater confidence and wisdom. The Stoic philosopher Seneca advised, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. The process is a mutual one. Men learn as they teach. By surrounding yourself with people who encourage your growth and investing time in your own development, you create a positive, forward-moving energy that makes it harder for enemies to drag you down. 11. Practice forgiveness and letting go. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools for overcoming your enemies. The Stoics believe that holding on to anger or grudges only harms the person holding on to them. By practicing forgiveness and letting go, you free yourself from the emotional burden that your enemies have placed on you. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the idea of forgiveness in his writings, encouraging others to let go of resentment. He wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In other words, by letting go of your anger and choosing forgiveness, you transcend the conflict and rise above it. Forgiving your enemies doesn't mean condoning their behavior. It means releasing the emotional grip they have on you. By doing so, you regain your peace of mind and prevent them from continuing to affect you negatively. Forgiveness is a personal liberation that disempowers your enemy. In practice, forgiveness can be challenging, especially when the hurt is deep. However, by focusing on your own healing and recognizing that holding on to resentment only prolongs the suffering, you can gradually learn to let go. This not only weakens your enemy's hold over you, but also allows you to move forward with a clear and calm mind. 12. Lead by example. One of the most powerful ways to defeat an enemy is by leading by example. Marcus Aurelius, as a Roman emperor, was known for his leadership based on Stoic principles. He believed that actions speak louder than words, and by demonstrating virtue in action, you can inspire others and undermine your enemy's efforts. When you live according to Stoic values, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, you become a role model for others. Your enemies may try to discredit you, but your actions will speak for themselves. Over time, others will recognize the truth of your character, and your enemy's attempts to harm you will lose credibility. Leading by example also means staying true to your principles, even in the face of adversity. It means showing integrity in every situation, no matter how tempting it may be to retaliate against your enemies. By remaining virtuous and steadfast, you not only protect your reputation, but also inspire others to follow in your footsteps. This approach can be particularly effective in professional or public life. When you consistently demonstrate integrity and high ethical standards, you create a legacy that's difficult for your enemies to tarnish. Over time, your example may even lead your adversaries to question their own actions and possibly change their behavior. 13. Seek peaceful resolutions. Finally, the ultimate Stoic way to overcome your enemy is to seek peaceful resolutions. While Stoicism teaches strength and resilience, it also values harmony in the pursuit of peace. Marcus Aurelius frequently sought diplomatic solutions to conflicts during his reign, recognizing that unnecessary violence only perpetuates more conflict. Rather than escalating conflicts, the Stoic approach is to find common ground, understand the motivations of others, and strive for compromise or reconciliation. This doesn't mean compromising your values or principles, but it does mean being open to dialogue and resolution where possible. In many cases, your enemy may be acting out of misunderstanding, fear, or a sense of threat. By approaching the situation with an open mind and a willingness to resolve the conflict peacefully, you may be able to turn an adversary into an ally, or at least defuse the tension without resorting to hostility. This approach aligns with the Stoic virtue of justice, which emphasizes fairness, reason, and understanding. By seeking peaceful resolutions, you demonstrate wisdom and maturity, which may, in turn, weaken your enemy's resolve to continue the conflict. Conclusion: the path of Stoic victory. In a world filled with conflict and adversity, the wisdom of Stoicism offers a path to overcoming enemies not through force, but through inner strength, resilience, and virtue. The 13 strategies outlined here, cultivating inner strength, practicing emotional detachment, focusing on virtue, and seeking peaceful resolutions, among others, provide a comprehensive framework for navigating conflicts with grace and wisdom. Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics teach us that true power lies in controlling our own minds and actions, rather than trying to control the behavior of others. By mastering yourself, you not only defeat your enemies, but also elevate yourself to a place of peace, strength, and wisdom. This Stoic approach to conflict is timeless, and its lessons are as relevant today as they were in the ancient world. Ultimately, the greatest victory is not the defeat of an external enemy, but the triumph over your own emotions, impulses, and fears. By living according to Stoic principles, you become unassailable, and your enemies, no matter how powerful, lose their ability to harm you. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. So think wisely, act with virtue, and rise above the conflicts that come your way.